to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals, the always mediocre Cincinnati Bengals. They had a chance to fire Hugh Jackson. I'm sorry, not Hugh Jackson. Marvin Lewis. They had a chance. He was willing to leave. But the Bengals said, no, you're staying here. Because apparently they're so satisfied with staying mediocre. Jeez. Alright, their quarterback right now is Andy Dalton, who I am perplexed to why he's still there. They got backups who I'm hoping beat him out at some point. I mean, Andy Dalton's he's the epitome of what the Bengals are. They're forever mediocre. And Andy Dalton's definitely part of that lineup. He's one of the reasons. He's mediocre. I mean, if you can't get a really good quarterback, I don't think Andy Dalton's a good quarterback. He's mediocre. And you do and this if you ever want a symbolism for the team, you want to know how good it could be, see who your quarterback is. Andy Dalton's mediocre. And the team's going to be mediocre. And looking at the running backs, they are promoting Joe Mixon to starter. Hopefully he'll have a much better season than he had in his rookie year. Bernard's probably going to be the third down / relief back. Even though Mixon can also catch and is also pretty fast, I think they're going to have Bernard kind of relieve him so they can keep him fresh. And the running backfield, it's alright. They got a few guys that might throw at the third, but it's going to be the Mixon and Bernard show. Wide receivers, you got the ever-talented and always elite A.J. Green, who I think is probably the closest to being the most Randy Moss-like. I mean, Randy Moss had way better durability than Green, but A.J. Green is definitely probably the closest to being like Randy Moss. Very much so. There's going to be open competition for who's going to be pairing up with him. They have a lot of wide receivers they want to try and stick. They got Brian LaFell, Tyler Boyd, John Ross, Josh Malone, Auden Toy, Mortiz Boringer. They got a lot of guys. They want to find their Marvin Jones and Muhammad Sanu, because once those guys left, it did pretty much affect Andy Dalton much. And of course, Marvin Jones is having a much better career in Detroit, and Sanu's probably on his way out in Atlanta. And they got a few guys. I think they'll probably find someone. I'm hoping they do get rid of Brian LaFell. I just don't think he's a good complement. I think they'll find someone, but they just need guys to step up. I heard there was rumors that maybe they'll throw John Ross to corner, but they should keep him wide receiver, and hopefully he'll be healthy the entire season. At tight end, they have Tyler Eifert, who, as great of a red zone threat he has had trouble staying healthy the past 2 seasons. Tyler Croft has been a good stand-in for him, a good red zone threat. I guess because of all the injuries, teams were very reluctant to sign Eifert, and he went back to Cincinnati very cheap. And so far, I think he hasn't started participating yet, which is a big problem. A really big problem. And often the offensive line. So they traded for Cordy Glenn to be the left tackle after stupidly letting Andrew Whitworth go because Fisher has been a disappointment and Cedric Abohi has been a huge disappointment. Huge disappointment. The interior is probably manned by Chris Bowling and perhaps Chris Westerman. They probably got other guys who probably want to try, because they really want to fix this offensive line. It's been a pretty big mess for them. And they also drafted Billy Price with the first round at center, hopefully to improve. They do want to improve this offensive line. They felt like it was a big problem, a big mess. And trading for Cordy Glenn, getting Billy Price at center are 2 good steps into improving this offensive line. They do want to try and get a better. They do want to improve this offensive line, but best way to improve it is to re-sign players with expiring contracts. letting Zeitler go, letting Whitworth go. Dumb. Just dumb. And you deserve what happened in 2017. You let go two very talented and elite offensive linemen, and you suffered for it. So now in this offense, it has talent, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of Dalton. I don't know if the offensive line is going to be able to hold itself up. It could be either a above mediocre or below mediocre offense. But overall, it's probably going to be mediocre. It's not going to starstruck anyone. If it does, I'll promise I'll drink myself till I black out. But man, this is not an offense. This is an offense that should be, but probably won't be a good offense at all. Defensive line, of course, Carl Lawson was a big surprise, and they also have the ever Carlos Dunlap. I think they might cut Michael Johnson, and it's a crowded defensive line because they're trying to find someone who can play on the other side of Carlos Dunlap, and they got a few guys that they might want to try out. Sam Hubbard, Jordan Willis, and of course, like I said, Carl Lawson. They got players there. They just need someone to step up. And of course, I don't know if they'll ever get rid of Michael Johnson. Maybe this might be the season they will. Maybe this is the season where he'll be starter again for some reason. But who knows? Who knows? Defensive tackle, it's going to be with the ever-talented Geno Atkins, and maybe Andrew Billings will probably start there. They also got Ryan Glasgow. They got a couple other players they want to try out, but it's probably going to be Atkins and Billings manning the interior. All right, and looking at the linebackers, they got a few players. They did draft Malik Jefferson. They also have the ever suspended Vontaze Burfict, who I think did get suspended again. If not, he probably will. They got a few other players that they want to try out, but they also signed Preston Brown, who's also an embarrassment in Buffalo. It's a decent linebacker core. It's, like I said, it's decent. It's not anything that's going to surprise people, but it's not it isn't terrible. They have good players like Vontaze Burfict, but they're also trying to hope that some players kind of stick and perform well. But it's just based on hope, dreams, and unicorn tears. And finally, looking at the secondary, they finally got a number one corner in William Jackson. Yeah, who knew after getting injured his rookie year, he turned out to be one of their highlights. He's a very good potential shutdown corner. Also kind of looking at the other side, they got some players, Drake Kirkpatrick, Darqueze Dennard. They got a few players that they can certainly try out. I think it might be mostly Kirkpatrick and Dennard probably being their main, with Jackson being their main three corners, and that's a decent backfield. That's decent. It's not perfect by any means, but it's not bad. And of course, their safeties got George Iloka at safety. They might try Josh Shaw at center at safety. They got a few other players. They draft some, but the secondary outside of William Jackson, it's mediocre. And with William Jackson there, it's probably a step above mediocre, barely a step above mediocre. It reflects the mantra of the Cincinnati Bengals: be mediocre. And there's nothing really to talk about this team. I mean, there are some competitions, there are some things, but overall it's just a mediocre team. And their schedule is a little tough, of course, playing the AFC West as well as the NFC South. They're going to have some struggles. I think at worst they might be a 4-12 team, depending how they do against the Cleveland Browns. If they don't sweep them, they're not going to the playoffs. But at best, say things do work out. Say all those players that they have drafted come together and perform well. Then that, in theory, could be a team that might make a playoffs. They won't win anything, but they might. But I'm not betting on it. I do see this team probably going maybe 5-11, maybe, but I'm not expecting this team. I'm not expecting much out of this team. I expect them to probably compete with the Browns to be who's going to be the worst in the AFC North. This is a team you really shouldn't expect much. I mean, if you're expecting a rebirth, maybe a playoff berth, let me know when they actually have the balls to fire Marvin Lewis.